This video is going to be exploring a style of movement that I call stumble dancing. So this is a style of movement, of dance, of improvisation that exposes us to the forces of gravity. As soon as we take our center of mass outside of our base of support, we're exposed to the effects of gravity. There are several reflexes that tend to come online when we're exposed to the effects of gravity. These are the startle reflex, the protective reflexes, and the righting reflexes. The startle reflex is essentially a response to a sudden change in the position of our body or to a loud sound or something like this. And that consists of a sequence of movements that starts from our eyes, where we squint our eyes shut. It goes into our shoulders, it goes into our neck, it goes into our hips, it goes into our arms. So we get this kind of motion like this. That's not a very helpful movement when we're trying to perform some kind of smooth action or when we're exposed to some kind of situation with momentum. So protective reflexes are things like the parachute reflex. When we fall, we reach forwards. This is something that babies do at about 3 months old. As they fall, they reach their arm out, not flat like this, but they actually drop their wrist down to the floor. And they first do this in the front, then they do it to the side, and then they finally do it to the back. And this gives them 360 degrees of control under situations that are not super fast. When we get a little bit older, we develop what I call paddle roll reflexes, because that flat arm forms a kind of paddle for us to roll over. So this is active in the upper body and the lower body. So when I reach forwards, my arm is going to help me roll, and that gives me the ability to extend my fall and reduce the shock of the fall. The third kind of reflex that is active here are the righting reflexes. So the righting reflexes keep our head in the normal position with our eyes and mouth on the horizontal line. So this is really helpful a lot of the time, but sometimes it's actually not helpful. We actually need to inhibit those reflexes. So sometimes we're falling, and instead of maybe continuing to fall, we actually inhibit ourselves. So we kind of start looking this way, and we lose that continuous flow of movement through our spine. We lose that transmission of force. If we don't have the ability to inhibit our righting reflexes, we'll find it very hard to move over our head like a backflip, for example. In the warm-up exercises, I'm working with the righting reflex and the cancelled righting reflex, which are two really crucial parts of this process. So in this first improvisation, what I want you to do is to start down on your knees and find a moment where your center of mass moves outside of your base of support. Then you can start playing with the shin roll and the forearm rolls. And that's going to be your main intention, is just to continuously lose balance and roll to save yourself. I want you to look for two main things. One, do your arms fly up? Do you lose control of your arms? If you do, that's a sign that you're startling. You can also notice when you lose your breath. That's another sign that you're startling. The other thing that I want you to look for is visual flexibility. So can I roll whilst I look up in the sky? Can I roll whilst I look over here? Can I roll to the left and look to the right, roll to the left, look to the left? Can I play with where I'm looking? When we use flexible visual control, that's probably going to inhibit the startle reflex. This time, we're also going to involve the use of our arms in this kind of yielding motion, so that when we reach our hands to the ground, we're going to allow them to yield down and continue that rolling motion. Are you able to keep a long neck here in the side, here in the front, here in the back as you move? Or is there a lack of harmony at some point? Are you trying to go to the side, but your neck wants to stay up? Is there conflict within your body? So the last layer of this sequence of improvisations, of tasks, is a bit of jumping, is actually taking ourselves into the air a little bit. The thing that we can really pay attention to here, as well as all the other things, loss of breath, shortening of the neck, we can pay attention to how much am I allowing my hips to extend, because that is a really big sign that you feel safe. When we feel unsafe, it's so natural to contract. It's a big thing with the startle reflex. It's this kind of bowing down. The hip flexes. So when you're in the air, that means the foot comes close to the body and the body goes shorter, and we lose that kind of beautiful length that we love. So there are two motions that I think are quite nice to introduce here. One is a single leg butterfly kick, where we're just going to twist on the leg and jump up. You can find a bit more. The other one, it's the same, but going the other way. So you're going to start with the kick and kick around. There's one more reflex that I haven't spoken about today, but you're probably going to become familiar with through this exercise, and that's the crossed extensor reflex. So when you're running, one leg shoots forward and the other leg shoots back. So it's this scissor motion of the legs, and that's really useful when we're falling. We're falling. The really fast switching of the legs. So you might also find that to be a useful thing that happens when you're doing these motions as well. Reflexes that have a negative feeling to them are enhanced by negative feelings. So when we're feeling anxious, we're actually a lot more likely to startle. So if you want your reflexes to support your movement instead of interfere with your movement, you actually need to be relaxed, happy, and extroverted. You need to be paying attention to the world and not really paying attention to yourself so much. This practice belongs to a larger body of work that explores how our mind affects our movement and how our movement affects our mind through studying topics like joy, confidence, and anxiety.